Bruised to Burn, Asiatique, the riverfront, Bangkok, Thailand. Years had passed, but the second Macro saw that face, something snapped, clean and sharp, inside her head. Memories flooded her, fast and brutal, like a levee splitting open under pressure. The man standing there, the type who could haunt a teenager's dreams for years, keep whole classes of girls up at night just thinking about him. Not that Macro had ever met him back then. If she had, it would have been a scandal, no question. She was born in Juarez, not the headline city everyone ties to blood and narcos, but the real Juarez, a small, off-map town, strange and beautiful, somewhere in Mexico's dust and gold. Her father worked underground, old school. He named her Lena. Her mother taught children's classes and hummed folk songs while she brushed out Macro's hair. Their life wasn't hard-boiled or cinematic, just simple. Her father took 5 shifts, came home grinning. Sundays, they hit church. Sometimes the San Jorge Zoo if her father's knees held out. The year she made high school, her father came home with a desktop. First time, first device. She treated that machine better than anyone at school ever treated her. Boys, they kept their distance. Macro was thin, awkward, easy target. Picked up the nickname Dead Branch. She wanted to talk, sometimes even wanted more. But nothing ever sparked. Nobody reached out. Every Saturday, the other girls slipped out, cafes, side streets, wild plans. Macro stayed in, eyes locked on code. That computer was her lifeline. By graduation, she could tear codes like she'd been born with them. Then the family sat her down, parents nervous, older than before. She'd have a little brother. They'd tried for years. Nothing but heartbreak. Hope flared in the womb, flickered out by the 3rd month. But this time, doctors said it was different. Her mother went to a new specialist, someone who fixed everything. The name was already chosen, Neil. A name meant to echo hers, Lena. But life doesn't care about symmetry or plans. That Sunday, they were dressing for church. Her father was due back from Loma Blanca, a fresh dig. He wanted them all together, family, faith, a new start. He never made it home. 2 days of searching. Then they found him. Shot at point-blank range, body dumped, face unrecognizable, skull blown out. Only an ID in his pocket to tell the police who he was. Everything burned down in a single moment. They lost the rented house within days. Weeks blurred by in a concrete shelter. Rows of cots, no privacy, waiting for anything to change. An uncle tried to help, said they should go to America, find Lena's grandmother in New Mexico. She'd made her escape years ago. Now it sounded like their only shot. But tickets, documents, even hope cost more than her mother could ever stack. So they stripped their lives to the bone, sold everything, down to the desktop Macro once guarded like family. Scraped together enough for the smuggler's fee. The deal was clear. No paperwork, no safety net. Just a silent ride in the dark. Her mother clung to the idea that if they made it to grandmother, nothing else would matter. At 2:30 a.m., they climbed into a vegetable truck. Packed bodies everywhere. Human cargo, all of them breathing shallow, shaking. The rule was silence. No talking, no noise. Just sweat, fear, and the hope nobody heard them. But a few miles from the crossing, everything detonated. Gunfire ripping through the night. Too loud to think, too fast to pray. The agent and his crew vaporized into the dark. Some passengers screamed, most scattered, desperate. Macro's mother, her body just couldn't move. There was no dragging her through the chaos. Macro did the only thing her mind could latch onto, lifted both hands, stood still, the way the movies always showed surrender. But this was no movie. The butchers with badges wrote their own script. The men pouring out of those jeeps wore uniforms, but their eyes held nothing human. Floodlights seared overhead, turning the desert into a stage. One, older, heavy-set, badge winking, grabbed her mother by the hair and hauled her up a slope of thorns and gravel. He pointed at Macro, signaled the others. Her mother managed one last scream, torn from her ribs. "Run, Lena. Run." That was the final moment Macro saw her alive. Everything after blurred, awash in blood and bone. She lost count of how many times they destroyed her that night. What stuck, what never faded, were the 8 faces staring down at her. Monsters in human skin. That memory locked in, every smirk and blink etched onto her skull. She would ask herself for years why every detail stuck. Now, as an adult, she knows. They call it photographic memory. Years ground past, slow and cruel. Somehow, Macro ended up a citizen of the same state that shattered her. She joined the U.S. Marine Corps, tech specialist, Kandahar deployment, clean record, new name. But none of that ever mattered. Not the badge, not the flag, not the hollow talk about the mission. What she cared about was those 8 faces, seared into her mind like factory code. Even in sleep, she hunted them. Counting flaws, mapping scars, timing every blink and grin, waiting for the day she could finish the hunt. In her early days, Macro chose the wrong road for the right reason and paid with a life sentence stamped into her bones. If she hadn't taken the Marine Corps' deal, she'd have rotted out her years behind concrete, waiting for death to call her name. So she went. Kandahar. Afghanistan's red sands, moons burning low, skies crawling with predators. Out there, her unit treated Macro like something between a myth and a curse. She built her own satellite program from scratch, dialed in targets with a level of precision the old brass had never seen. Anything that moved, across sand, stone, even in the city grids, she saw it first. Heat signatures, travel routes, movement patterns, her ghost hunting code mapped it all, spat out the numbers, and nobody slipped the net. With Macro on their side, Marines stopped sweeping blind, stopped praying in the open that death wasn't already breathing down their necks. Now they knew when, where, how many. Every move became mathematics. The desert shifted. After that, the ops got simple. Wait. Set the trap. Trigger the ambush. Let the bodies cool in the sun. March back to camp. Crack open beers. Laugh about it like death was the punchline to a worn-out joke. Macro never laughed. Didn't sleep much either. After her childhood, sleep came in rationed doses, 2 hours, sometimes 3. That's why her face carried that edge. Thin, wired, never quite whole. Like her body was held together with scorched nerves and second chances. It was on a night like that, dead hours, camp humming with aftershock, when the man came into her tent. She'd heard gunshots earlier, just a few cracks in the distance, but brushed them off. The boys always got drunk, shot at ghosts, burned off tension. She didn't know those shots weren't for fun, Didn't know some had tried to fight him. Didn't know they'd failed. She never saw him enter, just felt the atmosphere flip, air turning thick, electric, almost animal. And then, those eyes. That's the first thing she remembers. Eyes that burned straight through her, not seeing the shell she wore, but the self she'd buried. They didn't threaten her. They warned her. Not about dying, but about something older, deeper, crawling under her skin. In that moment, Macro felt something colder than death crawl through her. He looked at her with the kind of power that could erase her from the earth, and then shape whatever scraps remained into something new. And that possibility terrified Macro more than any bullet, any death she'd ever pictured. He stepped in close. That's when she saw it, the weapon that had torn through the squad without a sound. Nearly a foot long, forged in an ancient mold, the dagger looked unreal. Raw diamond, uncut, glinting like it had been wrenched from the core of the world and never tamed. Inside the blade, a molten fire, lava frozen in crystal, throbbed to get out. The dagger was chained to his waist, not just carried, but fused to him. Macro's first thought, a man who owned a blade like that never needed to fight. He could have stayed rich, invisible, untouchable. But he chose war. He chose to walk straight into her tent. Now that dagger lives with Macro. She ran it through every lab test she could. The grip was leather, thick, black, and wrong. Not animal, not man-made. Human skin, but no skin any human had ever grown. No match in any database, no forensic record, nothing. Back in that Kandahar tent, with heat smothering the air like old, sticky guilt, he locked eyes with her, lowered the blade. Then came the words. There was one more with those 8, the one who killed your mother. You never saw his face. She was alive when it happened. Her eyes were screaming. You were too young to look at that scream. That's why you can't remember the 9th face. He didn't say it like a confession or a threat. He said it like a record, final, precise. And while he spoke, a smile flickered on the edge of his perfect face, a smile holding grief, cruelty, and a razor's sense of justice in the same breath. By the time he finished, Macro felt every wall inside her cave in. All her armor, gone. For the first time, she let it go, collapsed into someone's arms and cried. Not gentle, not silent, but a flood that wrecks everything in its path. Sobbing so hard, it tore up her throat and left her tasting blood. She never asked how he knew. How he reached into that locked, silent vault in her mind she thought nobody could ever find. He hated questions, guarded his own secrets with the same fury she guarded hers. So she let the mystery stand. Even after he brought her back to Texas, even when he placed the diamond dagger in her hand. One by one, he found them for her, the 8 men and the 9th. And he let her finish it, with her own hand, with her own rage, with the blade that burned hotter than hell. She never asked how he tracked them down, never asked how many years he'd spent hunting, or how many lives he'd shattered to bring each target close enough for her to finish. She didn't thank him either. Just wiped the blood off her hands and stood taller than she'd ever managed before. Nearly a decade has passed since those nights, and still, She doesn't ask where he goes when he vanishes for years, slipping between shadows. Doesn't ask why he returns with new names, new faces. Sometimes he'd come back wearing Vega, a face rebuilt with money and high-end surgery, something she could rationalize. But there were times when it wasn't just the face that changed. It was the body, the build, the voice, even the texture of his skin. No matter how he shifted, whatever the name stamped on his passport, her heart always clocked him, sharp as pain recognizes a blade. This time, he looked different again. Ordinary. Like a man you'd lose in a crowd, nobody's threat, nobody's hero. Yet compared to the last time, he carried more warmth, something freer in his bearing. This man, her boss, her only living family, the only person who'd seen her whole and never left. Macro masked up, threw on her half smirk, but her voice cracked, exposed.
So boss finally remembers I exist? You've been in town since morning. What? Thought I'd poison your breakfast if you came straight here?
She tried to hold herself together. Seeing him again after so long hit like a storm surge, but she steadied her tone as best she could. He smiled, caught the slip. The second Tommy said it, "I knew you'd be waiting." The look in his eyes, teasing, warm, always disarming her. Didn't matter the year or the body he wore. "I needed a minute to find myself, Neil. Been a hell of a last 48. He called her Neil again, his clipped private name for her. Just hearing it stirred up all the old ghosts. Macro always wondered if her lost brother had lived, if he'd have been anything like this man. Every time he used that word, she felt something break and settle at the same time.
You could have slept longer. I wasn't rushing you to meet me.
She said it running at him, hands dirty from cutting back garden hedges with the butler, arms open wide as she crashed into his embrace. Still, the questions hammered at the back of her mind. How long had it been this time? 5 years? What kind of work makes a man disappear for that long? And why is she always left in the dark? But more than that, what kind of man comes back after years, not older, but lighter, as if he'd left his weight behind somewhere no one could follow? She kept the questions locked down, played it cool, pretended he'd only stepped out last night, maybe lost track of time, partied too hard, now home with a hangover. But this time, whatever he brought back with him, it felt more dangerous than anything he'd ever dragged in before. Everything you touch turns beautiful, Neil. He said it as he sank into her new white sofa, a geometric thing, all sharp lines and silent expense. He knew her, how obsessive she got, down to the color of a pillow. And the man who let millions sit untouched in banks never cared about the furniture. That meant only one thing. The small talk was over. Macro tested the water anyway.
Glad you like it. Robert's bringing your tea. Want to look around while I show you the new setup?
She regretted it the moment it left her mouth. He dropped the smile. His brow tightened. Didn't say a word. He didn't have to. Macro went straight to business.
I studied the briefcase you sent. Never seen anything like it. If it's real, it's a breakthrough nobody on Earth has logged yet. That terrifies me.
She paused, careful.
I haven't opened the core package. Figured it was smarter to wait. The casing, though, that's what caught me.
She watched him. Nothing. No approval, no change. Just that same flat stare. She pushed on.
The canister's engineered for near-eternal power flow, miniaturized nuclear supply, uranium-driven. That alone is decades ahead of anything in the open.
Still nothing from him. No blink, no twitch. That's what scared her. Because if her boss stayed silent, it meant the stakes were higher than even she wanted to imagine. He leaned back, settling into the sofa like a man strapping in for war. Fitting a uranium power supply into a canister that size, that's an engineering miracle. But here's what I really want to know. Why would anyone build something that's sophisticated just to transport an object? And why would two people be ready to kill each other for it? The question just sat there, heavy between them. Macro knew better than to fill the silence. Not everything revealed itself in the first hour. She kept it tight, kept it real.
I've barely had any time with it. I'll need longer to figure out what we're dealing with.
That got a low chuckle out of him, the kind that was half amusement, half suspicion. Well, I'm just glad you didn't mistake it for fragrance and try it out on yourself. Macro rolled her eyes but couldn't kill the smile. His voice was light, but his eyes flashed, the smile twisting into something sharper, almost dangerous. It's a bit chilly today, Neil. Might be time to pour a little beluga down the throat. That's when it clicked. All the small talk, the lazy smile, the drawn-out timing, it was a setup. The Russians had made their move too early. Macro wanted to tell him, just a few more hours would have been nice. Let him breathe. Let her hold on to this moment. Just a little longer. But he was already up. Mask dropped. Game over. The cold in the room had nothing to do with the weather. He walked out. No words, just a smooth, final exit. As the door clicked shut, Macro let her breath go.
Poor Russians,
she said, almost a whisper. They had no idea what was coming.